Hot rumor. Celtics want Jaren Jackson Jr. trade with the Grizzlies. You saw this rumor and thought, here comes another empty speculation, right? Me too. But if the Celtics are really targeting Jaren Jackson Jr., it could change the balance in the East. And the big pain here is the same as always. We get lost in the middle of headlines, clippings, and clickbait without understanding what is real and what makes sense. So I'm going to give you what no one really sums up. Why this trade could happen, what the Grizzlies would have to ask for, and whether it really fits the Celtics. Without fluff, with a clear scenario and down to earth. Let's go? Before getting into the rumors, let me ask you for a quick boost. If you enjoy the NBA without the hassle and with analysis that makes sense, sign up now because we're in the final stretch of reaching the goal of 1,000 subscribers. And I'll be very direct. Reaching 1,000 helps the channel a lot to grow, to deliver these videos to more people, bring more content, more frequency, and better cover rumors and exchanges. It's the type of goal that becomes the key for us. So do the following. Subscribe, leave a like, it's literally 1 second, activate the bell so you don't miss out when hot news comes out, and comment below. JJJ on the Celtics, yes or no? I want to see your opinion. Closed. Now stay with me because I'm going to show you what would actually have to happen for this exchange to happen. And there's a detail here that almost no one is talking about. Let's go. If you've been following the Boston Celtics long enough, you already know how this time of year messes with our heads. January arrives, the trade deadline begins to appear on the horizon, and suddenly the news becomes a big chessboard. Everyone trying to guess who is moving, who is bluffing, who is really willing to press the button and change the course of the season. And then, in the midst of this noise, a name appears that makes Celtics fans raise their eyebrows immediately, because it's not just any rumored rotation piece. It's a big, rare name, one that doesn't appear on the market easily. Jaren Jackson Jr. When I saw this rumor gaining momentum, the first thing that came to me was that familiar feeling. Is this a wish or a possibility? Because there is a huge difference between a team liking a player and a team actually being able to build a path to him without destroying everything around him. And that's exactly where the conversation gets good. It's not just, JJJ is good, bring him. It's about understanding why the Celtics would have this interest, what Jaren represents within the NBA today, and what the real price would be. Not the video game price, but the real-life price, with salary cap, contracts, draft picks, roster fit, and mainly, the question that decides everything. Does this bring you closer to the banner? Let's start with the obvious that is sometimes overlooked. Jaren Jackson Jr. is one of those players who changes the game without having to have the ball all the time. And when we talk about the Celtics, this matters a lot because the Celtics already have a very clear identity, a team that thrives on quick decision-making, spacing, reading, defensive intensity, and a versatility that suffocates the opponent. Jaren enters this conversation as if it were a manual fit at several points. He's not just an elite defender, he's the type of defender who covers mistakes, puts out fires, intimidates the paint, and even gives you the option to play more aggressively on the perimeter because he knows there's someone behind to fix it. He is a perennial contender to be one of the best defenders in the league, not for marketing, but for real impact on the court. And here comes a pain that every fan understands firsthand. You see an incredible team, you see a team that competes, but you know that, in the details, there is always a piece that could make this even more absurd. It's as if the Celtics were always there, with everything working, but deep down, the fan lives that silent thought. If only they had one more defensive monster, one more rim protector, one more person who commands respect in the paint against the best in the East. It's not that the Celtics are weak. It's just that the NBA at the top is cruel. At the top, you don't win because you're good. You win because it's the best set of answers. And having a player like Jaren gives you answers that few teams have. Now calm down. I'm not saying it's going to happen, and I'm not selling dreams. What I want to do here on the Talk Celtics show is what I always try to bring, a down-to-earth reading, but without killing the excitement. Because rumors exist, but rumors also have reasons. If several people around the league comment that Boston would love to have Jaren, it doesn't come out of nowhere. The Celtics are an organization that thinks long-term, that evaluates fits, that monitors opportunities, and when a player of that level appears on the radar, it is natural that interest exists. The real question isn't whether the Celtics would like it. The real question is, would the Memphis Grizzlies have reason to open the door? RTA. And that's where everything gets more delicate, because Jaren is not a veteran at the end of his career. He's at a great age. He's in his prime or approaching it, and there's a strong narrative that Memphis sees him as a pillar. In other words, he is not the type of player you trade for a package. Memphis will only talk if it is a proposal that changes the life of the franchise. And when I say change your life, I'm talking about two things. Either you receive a young talent that you believe can become a star, or you receive a package of choices and assets that allows you to start over with flexibility and depth. And even then, it still depends on what Memphis wants to be from now on. There are those who say that Memphis would be more open to conversations about other pieces and that the market is noisy during this period. Beauty. That's what the NBA is. Today you swear you won't change, tomorrow a proposal appears that makes you think. But the Celtics don't have the type of young player with the potential to become a franchise left, and that's the tough part. Because Boston, being at the top and having a consolidated core, usually exchanges its highest picks for later picks, and late choices are worth less. So, if you want to fight for a guy like Jaren Jackson Jr., you need to offer something that isn't just late first-round picks and hope, and then the scenarios begin. And this is where I want to talk to you like we talk when we're watching games together. Honestly, if you're imagining a world where the Celtics send 2 rotation players and 2 picks and get JJJ, that doesn't exist. Not for an all-star, not for a defenseman at that level, not for a player who still has a lot of market value. The account does not close. The rumor is usually accompanied by a part that always appears in this type of conversation. Expiring contracts, promising young players, and draft picks as currency. And this is the language of the market. An expiring contract serves to help the other team clear payroll or create future flexibility. A promising young player helps the other team have someone to develop. And draft picks serve as long-term fuel. But then another pain arises. Celtics fans tend to have an emotional relationship with our young people because we want to see development, we want to see Jordan Walsh gaining ground, we want to see a prospect become a useful piece, we want to believe that a new find will emerge. But when you're competing for a title, you face a cruel dilemma. You have a real window now, and the window doesn't wait. The NBA does not forgive hesitation. It is at this point that the proposed solution appears. If you have the chance to add a player who makes you better now and is also young enough to not be a rental, consider it. It's not because you don't like young people. It's because the objective is to win and because the league calendar has no patience. Let's talk about the fit because that's what makes the fans go crazy. Imagine a Celtics with an already strong defense becoming even more suffocating with a guy who protects the rim, switches in multiple positions, and even threatens as a spacer in some contexts. Jaren is not just a stump on the ball, he is presence. And defensive presence changes how the opponent plays. The other team's offense begins to falter. Guards think twice before attacking the baseline. Infiltration turns into hurried floaters. The opposing pivot starts to receive the ball further away. This changes the geometry of the game. And in attack, Jaren can score, he can punish mismatches, he can fit in pick-and-pop actions, and he gives you an alternative when the game gets tough and things get stuck. It's not about transforming the Celtics into a team that lives off it. It's about having another path. It's about not always relying on the same script. And you know what a playoff is like. A series becomes a game of chess. The opponent takes your first plan, then tries to take your second, and the champion team is the one that still has the third, the fourth, the fifth plan. Jaren increases the number of possible plans. Now comes the part that no one likes but everyone needs to hear. Every large acquisition has a cost in chemistry, in minutes, in functions. And I don't say this to discourage you. I speak because it is part of reality. The Celtics have a squad with identity, clear roles, established leaders. When you put a name that big, you reorganize the ecosystem. And the Celtics, as a team that works very much by the sum of its parts, would need to make sure they are bringing in someone who fits not only on the court, but in the environment. From his profile, you can imagine that he would fit in, yes, mainly because Jaren adds without demanding to be the center of the universe all the time. But still, it moves. Change the rotation. Change the way you close games. Change the defensive combinations. Change what you can or cannot do in certain matchups. And then we go back to the market. Okay? So how much would it cost? I'll tell you in the simplest way possible. It would be expensive. And expensive here isn't just a player, it's the future too. Boston would have to put up relevant draft picks, would have to put up young players that Memphis could develop, and would probably have to include a contract that helps balance values. And even then, it's no guarantee, because there is a difference between the Celtics are interested and the Celtics have a package that wins over the competition. If another team comes in offering higher picks or more valued young talent or simply more flexibility, you lose the race. And there's another point. Even if the Celtics find a way to do this, you still have to think about what you give up. The Celtics today are already a team built to win, so it's not a save-the-season situation. It's an upgrade, an attempt to become even more dominant. And upgrades sometimes cost more than they seem because you end up giving up depth, rotation versatility, pieces that hold the momentum in 82 games. And the season isn't just about the playoffs. You need to survive until then with health and consistency. But, and here's where I think this rumor gets so big, Celtics fans are tired of the almost feeling. Even when you win, even when you have a great season, there is always that ghost of tough series, that game that escapes, that possession that changes everything. The fans want security. You want to look at the cast and think, now we have answers for everything. And an elite defender who also scores consistently is one of those comforting answers. No comfort of relaxing, comfort to believe. And I think that's why this rumor is going around so much, because he speaks directly to the fan's heart. He taps into the pain and offers an imaginary solution that seems perfect. The pain is the anxiety of the trade deadline, the fear of seeing rivals strengthening themselves, the worry about what if we face such a team and lack size, rim defensive impact. And the solution is, bring a defensive monster at his peak. There's no way this won't attract attention. Now, as a content creator, I also need to tell you the part that keeps us grounded. Rumors are not advertisements. And sometimes the phrase, the Celtics would love to, is much more about perception than the actual negotiation taking place. Because what happens in the league all the time is, executives talk, probe, ask, what do you want, receive a no, or an absurd price, and this becomes news as if it were an ongoing story. This is how the market breathes, and the media lives from it too. So what I like to do is separate it into 3 layers: desire, plausibility, and path. Desire, it makes perfect sense. The Celtics would love a player like Jaren Jackson Jr. Plausibility, it depends on Memphis wanting to give up a pillar and on the Celtics agreeing to pay a price that probably hurts. Path, this is where the detail that defines whether this is bar talk or boardroom talk comes in. Boston needs to have assets, it needs to fit salaries, it needs to accept that the other side will ask for a lot. And Memphis, if he really sees Jaren as a future, he can simply not even talk. Or you can talk just to test the market and see if anyone does something crazy. And you know what's most interesting? Even if the trade doesn't happen, the fact that this rumor exists already reveals something about the Celtics. The franchise is attentive, it's restless, it's always looking for a way to stay one step ahead. It's not an accommodating team. It's a team that understands that to stay at the top, you need to move before the top collapses. And that, in itself, is already a good sign. Now let me ask you the way I would if you were sitting here with me. If you could press a button and bring Jaren in, would you? And what would you be willing to lose? Because the honest answer almost always changes when you put real names on the table. It's one thing to wish. Another thing is giving up choices, giving up depth, changing rotation, accepting that a young man you like is leaving. And that's where the discussion gets ripe. I personally love this type of conversation because it shows how much the Celtics are always at the center of the market. Even when you don't need it, even when you're already well, it's always a desired destination, always a possibility. And at the same time, it tests our vision of what it means to build a championship team. Is it maintaining the core and adjusting details? Is it making a big shot and turning a strong team into a scary team? Is it protecting the future or attacking the present? There is no perfect answer. there is choice and consequence. What I promise you here at the Talk Celtics Show is this. We will follow this the right way, without hysteria, without selling rumors as certainty, without turning speculation into a confirmed bomb, but also without ignoring the weight of the name, because Jaren Jackson Jr. is not just any rumor. It's the kind of rumor that, when it appears, deserves real analysis. If this matter continues moving forward, we will unravel the possibilities, compare scenarios, understand the logic of both sides, and, above all, answer the question that matters. Does this bring the Celtics closer to the title without compromising what makes the Celtics the Celtics? And while that answer doesn't come, I want you to have an image in your head. The Celtics, as they are already dangerous. But a Celtics with another elite defender, young, impactful, and with the ability to score, that changes the conversation in the league. It changes the way other teams put together a game plan. Change respect. Change the fear. And just thinking about it, I understand why this rumor is catching fire. Now tell me in the comments, from your heart, do you think this is just smoke, or is there fire there? And most importantly, if the price is high, are you willing to pay it? Because it's easy to love Jaren's idea. It's difficult to sign the check. And it is exactly this check that decides whether this rumor becomes history or just another page of our busy January in the NBA. And now I want to close with you the way this rumor deserves. If the Celtics really get into this fight for Jaren Jackson Jr., the message to the league is clear. It's not just maintaining the level. It's pressing the accelerator and trying to transform a very strong team into a simply frightening team. Because it's one thing to be a candidate. Another thing is to put together a squad that makes the opponent look at the table and think, if I fall against Boston, I'll be in trouble. And it is exactly this type of movement that changes seasons, changes series, changes legacy. But I'll leave you with the golden question. Is this smoke or is it real fire? And if there is fire, what price would you accept to pay without dismantling the team's soul? Because if there's one thing the Celtics do like no one else, it's compete in detail. And in detail, a play the size of JJJ could be the difference between we arrived and we lifted the trophy. Now, if you enjoy this type of deeper content, where we separate rumors from reality and understand the game beyond the headline, I have a direct request. Go to the pinned comment and click on the Celtics Analysis playlist. It is organized for you to marathon and leave here seeing the Celtics in a completely different way. Rotation, adjustments, matchups, defense, attack, everything on point. So do this. Finish this video with me until the end. Now go down to the pinned comment and go to Celtics Analyses, because what's next is going to catch fire.